Okay guys, welcome to Coding with Kyle, and we're going to go ahead and go through the next feature. So the next game feature that we have is by Maggie, and Maggie wants to create an invisible wall. So this is going to be a wall that keeps the player from being able to exit the area or the next level or the end of the game. This feature is going to be part of the sprite. If you touch it, you're going to be sent back 10 spaces. What does the feature do? If it touched, it sends the player 10 steps back. It can receive an item like a key to unlock. It's going to decline items that aren't the key. And then once it receives the right item, it's going to disappear so that way the player can go through. So it can't be seen. I would like, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, so yeah, so an invisible wall. So let's go ahead and work on that in Scratch. So let's go ahead and create a new project, and I'm going to go ahead and run through an example of this feature. So we're going to need multiple backdrops to start off with. So let's head there. We're going to go to backdrops, and I'm going to go ahead and find a couple of starting ones. Maybe we'll keep a little bit of a theme. All right, good, perfect. There's some city ones here. So let's do the metro. Maybe we start off in the metro, and then maybe another map that we can go to is the Night City one, and maybe there's even another one with another Night City. So I know that Maggie's going to have a bunch of parts with the city that you can walk through. And then let's say that the area that we're trying to get to is the colorful city, okay? And so we're going to put a locked door at the Night City here, an invisible wall that's going to prevent us from going to the color city until we find the right key, which is going to be somewhere in these backdrops. So I'm just going to, for ease of access, I'm going to say that this is going to be city 1. So this is going to be the first part of our city. This will be city 2. This will be city 3, and this will kind of be we'll call it hidden city for right now. And that's where we're going to be blocked from going. So let's go back, and what we're going to need is exactly what Maggie said here, which is we're going to need a sprite to start programming our stuff. And this is going to be a wall. So let's go and find some type of sprite that can be a wall. So there's nothing that says wall. So this is something we can easily draw. So maybe we just draw this, right? Remember that with sprites, you can actually upload your own images, right? There's this upload image button, and we can also paint to draw them. So there's a lot of room for creativity. We don't have to just use the defaults. So right now, let's make this kind of a big wall. Okay, and I'm just going to say that this looks like a wall. Okay, that's just going to be the sprite for right now. And we're going to go ahead and start coding it. So we know for sure that we need our sprite to be able to move around a little bit. So I'm just going to quickly add that. We're all very familiar with having the sprite move around. I'm going to go ahead and use the A key for left, the D key for the right. We need to make sure that we have the motion, and we change X by 10 for both of them, but to go left, of course, we have to go -10. And then the last part, don't forget, we need to stop this script at the end, and now we have our nice puzzle pieces for movement, so our sprite can move around. Perfect. So under backdrops, we need to start off with the green flag as being pressed, and we want to make sure that we start off at city 1. So we're going to switch the backdrop to city 1, okay? And we click the green flag, and now we're at the starting point. And we don't want the wall here yet. They can move freely around. This is not the part that they're being blocked, okay? So whenever the green flag is pressed, this wall needs to not be here, right? So whenever the green flag is pressed, this wall can get out of here. And we want to stop the script afterwards. So green flag is pressed, we stop the wall goes away. I also want to make sure to stop the script here. So cool. So click the green flag, our wall is gone. Now when do we want it to come up? Well, let's look at our backdrops. We have the city 1, we're going to go to city 2, city 3, and then at city 3, that's when we need to check, that's when we want the wall to appear, okay? So let's go ahead and let's do that. So, well, first let's make it to where whenever the cat touches the end, it goes to the next backdrop, right? So this is going to be the backdrop, and whenever after we hit the green flag, it's going to forever, we will switch to the city 1, and it's going to forever check. Yeah, I guess stop the script would be in a little bit. All right, so we want to take that out and forever check if the sprite is touching. Actually, this is going to be not here. This is going to be in the sprite. The sprite is going to interact with the background. So let's go back to the sprite. And we're going to say if the sprite is touching the edge, that's when we want to switch the background. So when the green flag is pressed, the game starts, and we want to keep checking if the sprite, so if the player, so we're going to change sprite to player, and this is going to be our wall, right? I'm going to call that wall. So if our player is touching the edge, so this is a sensing thing, right? We're trying to sense if they're touching the edge. So if we're touching the edge. And now we're going to say then we want to go to the next backdrop. So this will be, it's going to be a little bit weird because we're going to go over and we're going to touch the edge, and now it switches to all the backdrops really fast. And that's kind of a bug that we don't want to happen, right? So we need to set the backdrop, and then we want the cat to start over here on the left side. So we're going to set their position. So motion is going to go to X and Y. So let's do that. So they're touching the edge, they go to this position, then we switch to the next backdrop. So now, green flag is pressed, I hit the edge, and I'm at the next backdrop. I can run all the way through. I can just keep on running forever, running from rut. Never mind. This is going to be a bit. But okay, so now we got that part working, and we're good to go. And what we're going to want to do is change this next backdrop to a broadcast message. Okay, and the message is going to be next map. So this seems like we're trying to do the same exact thing. And we kind of are. So we're going to switch to this backdrop, and then we're going to say, when I receive next map, then we want to go to the next backdrop. So this is exactly the same thing, but with extra steps. So why are we doing it this way? Well, because this is going to let us do some other stuff. So let's make sure that this works exactly the same way, exactly the same functionality that we had before. And I can even go backwards, which we'll change that in a second. So that's good. So whenever I receive the next map, we switch to the next backdrop. But now we want to check the backdrops, okay? We want to check if the backdrop, fit in there? Maybe not, okay. Well, we want to check if the backdrop, okay, so backdrop name, this will get us the backdrop name. Gotcha. So we want to check, we're going to need an operator for this. All right, so what do we want to do? We want to check if the backdrop name of the stage is equal to which backdrop? Well, it's equal to city 3, because if it's equal to city 3, that means we want our wall, okay? So we're going to check if the name of the stage is equal to city 3. So that's going to be an equal sign. And this is interesting, right? Because this has a number here, right? Equal to 50. It does not have to be just numbers. If the backdrop name is equal to city3, right? This can be words. So for right now, let's just test to make sure this works. And to do that, okay, yeah, we should be able to just go to show. Well, this is for the backdrops. Okay, we're coding this in the backdrop, so my bad. Whenever I receive, so let's duplicate this code, and we're going to drag it into the wall. Okay, so this is part of our wall code. The wall needs to detect when it shows up. So whenever I receive the next map, this can actually just stay the next thing, right? This can just go to the next map. When I receive next map, the background switches to the next map. The wall needs to check if it's the next map. It's not going to go to the next backdrop. It's going to check if the backdrop is equal to stage 3, and that's when this wall needs to appear. So we need to go and show this wall. So we click on the green flag, we go through, we're in city 1, we're now in city 2, we go to city 3, and our wall is not there. Where'd you go, wall? This is city 3, right? Okay, so if the backdrops, let's make it all one word to make sure it can get it. Okay, so wall, if the backdrop name of stage is equal to city 3. And let's just make sure there's not another I might need to use this one because this is using words. If apple contains A. So actually what we want to say is if the backdrop name of the stage contains city 3. So this is the one with words. Maybe we can't use the equals for words. Maybe it's just numbers. Right, so let's try this again. So green flag, we're starting over. Moving over, going boom, city 2, city 3, and our backdrop is still, oh, there it is. Okay, interesting. Why did it, and now it's there for all of them, but okay, so it, because then it showed it, interesting. Why is that on the next one? City 1, oh, this is city 2, this is city 3, and it shows up, but it's at city 4 is when it's visible. So we need this to switch and show before the background switches, actually. So maybe looks, we show the sprite, and then we switch to the next backdrop. So if it's city 3, show the sprite, then switch to the next backdrop. This needs to happen first. Okay, so let's just, I think actually what the better thing to do would be to have this show up on city 2, because we always want the backdrop to be switching to the next backdrop, because what if there's more walls that we need to put? So we hit green, go over at city 2, now our wall is going to be visible on the next background. Oh, nope, not at all. Oh wait, because city 2 is one word, and I changed the backdrop. I didn't change that backdrop name. So backdrops, city 1, let's make that all one word. City 2, let's make that all one word. And hidden city, let's make that all one word to keep it consistent. Or you could just add this space back, I guess, on the other one. All right, so we go, we're on city 2, city 3, and now here's our wall. Okay, so now we have our wall showing up where it's supposed to. Let's look at the next thing for the features. So now it needs to keep the player from being able to exit the area, and needs to push them back 10 steps. So now we can actually focus on this wall part. So this wall, when the green flag is pressed, it's going to hide, and then instead of stop this script, it's going to forever check if the player is touching it. So if, and this is inside the wall that we're coding, so we're going to sense if it's touching the player. And if it's touching the player, we're going to broadcast a message to push the player back. Because I don't think we can just change, yeah, because this is going to be this thing. So we need to broadcast a message that the player is going to receive. And this message is going to be, I'm just going to put wall. So it's just going to say wall. And then the player, whenever the player receives the message wall, then we're going to go to, let's say, so the wall is here. If it gets the message, let's push the player back here. Or I guess we can just do change x by, right? So we just want to push them back, because if they hit the wall at the top, we'll just push them back. So change x by, and let's just push them back a bunch. So -50. And we can say stop the script. Okay, so we click on the green flag. We're at the start. We move forward, go to the next part of our city. Cool. We have this wall. We hit the wall, and now we keep pushing back. And now the wall is stopping us and acting like a pretty good wall. Perfect. Okay. So the wall keeps the player from being able to exit. It moves us back. So if touched, it sends the player back 10 steps. Good. Now we need to work on it receiving items, and then when it receives items the right way, it'll disappear. Okay? So now the player needs to be able to give it an item. So let's go ahead and give it an item, and let's just make the item this apple. So now we can say the apple so for the wall, if it wants the apple, what we're going to do is say it's forever checking if it's touching the player. Well, we also now wanted to check if it's touching the apple. So if it's touching the apple, and if so, then that means that the apple is the key and the wall needs to disappear. So the wall is going to hide when it is touching the apple, and it just went away. And now the player is going to be able to move through. So the apple, one thing that we're going to code, so I'm not going to worry about the inventory system right now. That would be part of another feature, but I will show you one thing, which is that the apple, whenever this sprite is clicked, maybe they can control it with the mouse, the motion part of it is going to correspond to glide. So glide 1 second, and it's going to glide towards the mouse pointer. Or actually go to mouse pointer. It doesn't want to glide towards the mouse pointer. It wants to go to the mouse pointer. So now, and we want it to do it forever, right? So basically, instead of when the sprite is clicked, so let's do this. Instead of when the sprite is clicked, we'll change it to when the space key is pressed. Sure. This will be like us. So we need some sort of item. So we're moving our mouse. It's not following. We hit space, and now it's following. So this is how we trigger the inventory. It's now following our mouse. So you'll need to stop this as part of the inventory system. But I'm not going to do that right now. So what we're going to do is simulate this unlocking part, right? So we have our green, we hit the green flag. We probably want to hide the apple, but we move our player forward. Okay, we're now at this wall. We keep getting pushed back, and I say, okay, I need to access my inventory. So the way I'm testing that right now is by clicking space. I'm accessing my inventory, and I drop the apple onto the gate, and now if I move forward, I can continue to move forward, and there's no longer a gate there. And that is how you have an item unlock an invisible wall.